The Liberty drifted through the final approach to Station Prime, her hull gleaming dully under the lights of 1,000 docking bays. Inside the bridge, Captain Daniel Hayes stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the massive station grow larger on the view screen. He had seen many stations in his 20 years of service, but none compared to this one. Station Prime was the heart of the Galactic Coalition, a place where hundreds of alien species met to trade, negotiate, and build the future together. "Captain, we're being hailed by Station Control," Lieutenant Maya Brooks said from her position at the navigation console. Her voice was steady, but Hayes could hear the nervous edge beneath it. This was humanity's first official visit to Station Prime, and everyone on board knew how important it was. "Put them through," Hayes replied. The view screen flickered, and an insectoid face appeared. The creature had multiple eyes arranged in a circular pattern, and mandibles that clicked as it spoke. "Human Vessel Liberty, this is High Coordinator Thren of Station Prime. You are cleared for docking bay 74 in the cargo section. Reduce speed to 0.05 and follow the guide beacons." Maya's eyebrows rose slightly. The cargo section was where freight haulers docked, not diplomatic vessels. Hayes kept his expression neutral. "Acknowledged, Station Prime. We'll follow your guidance." The screen went dark. Commander Jake Morrison, the ship's chief engineer, let out a long breath. "The cargo section? That's pretty far from the diplomatic quarters." "It's fine, Jake," Hayes said quietly. "Let's just get docked and make our presence known properly." As the Liberty moved closer to the station, other ships passed them by. Sleek vessels with shimmering hulls made of what looked like living crystal, ships that seemed to fold space around themselves, moving in ways that defied normal physics. Massive warships bristling with energy weapons that glowed with contained power. Compared to them, the Liberty looked like a relic from a forgotten age. Her hull was simple metal, dark gray and scarred from countless repairs. Her engines were basic fusion drives that left a steady blue trail instead of the exotic multicolored bursts of quantum fold engines. Her weapons were just railguns and missile tubes, visible on her hull like ancient cannons on a wooden ship. She looked old because she was old, though nobody outside the human crew knew exactly how old. The docking procedure took an hour. When it was finally complete, Hayes gathered his senior officers. "Remember, we're here to make friends and show them what humanity can offer. Stay professional no matter what happens." The airlock opened onto a busy corridor filled with aliens of every description, creatures with scales, fur, feathers, and skin that shifted colors. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some floated using technology Hayes couldn't begin to understand, and almost all of them stopped to stare at the humans emerging from their ship. Hayes heard the whispers immediately. "Look at their vessel. It's so primitive. Are those actual metal hulls? I thought only cargo ships use those anymore. Fusion drives. My ancestors used those 3,000 years ago." Ambassador Vrel, a tall Xanthari with a crystalline exoskeleton, was waiting for them at the end of the corridor. His multiple eyes focused on Hayes with what might have been amusement. "Captain Hayes, welcome to Station Prime. I am Ambassador Vrel, assigned to guide you through the diplomatic protocols. I must say, your ship is quite unique." The way he said unique made it clear he meant something else entirely. "Thank you, Ambassador," Hayes replied evenly. "The Liberty has served us well for a long time." "I'm sure she has," Vrel said, his mandibles clicking in a way that suggested laughter. "Come, the welcoming ceremony is about to begin." The ceremony was held in a vast hall with a transparent dome showing the stars above. Hundreds of diplomats and officials from dozens of species gathered to witness humanity's formal introduction to the Coalition. Hayes stood on a raised platform with his crew, very aware of the eyes studying them and their equipment. High Coordinator Thren stepped forward to give the official welcome. "The Galactic Coalition recognizes the humans of Earth and welcomes them as provisional members. May your time here prove beneficial to all species." It was a cold welcome, lacking the warmth Hayes had seen in recordings of other species' introductions. But he nodded respectfully and gave a brief speech about humanity's hopes for cooperation and friendship. When the ceremony ended, the real humiliation began. Groups of alien officials clustered around, asking questions that were barely disguised insults. "How do you manage faster than light travel with such basic engines? Are your weapons actually projectile-based? How quaint. I'm surprised your life support systems can maintain proper atmosphere. They look terribly outdated." Maya stood beside Hayes, her jaw clenched as a group of young alien officers laughed openly at images of the Liberty on their handheld devices. "Captain, they're placing bets on how long we'll last," she whispered. "Let them," Hayes said quietly. "Words don't hurt us." Jake had wandered over to a group of engineers from various species, hoping to make professional connections. Hayes watched as his chief engineer tried to explain the Liberty's systems, only to be waved off dismissively. One engineer, a being made of what looked like living metal, actually turned his back on Jake mid-sentence. The final insult came from Ambassador Vrel himself. As the crowd began to disperse, he approached Hayes with that same clicking laugh. "Captain, I feel I should warn you. The Coalition has certain standards for vessels operating in our space. Your ship may need significant upgrades before you're allowed to travel freely. We wouldn't want such a delicate vessel to encounter any trouble." "The Liberty can handle herself," Hayes said, his voice still calm but with an edge of steel beneath it. Of course, Vril said, not bothering to hide his condescension. "I'm sure she's perfectly adequate for your needs. But here, among the advanced civilizations, things are different. Perhaps humanity should observe for a time before attempting any serious participation in galactic affairs." Hayes held the ambassador's gaze. "We'll participate as we see fit, Ambassador, but we appreciate your concern." That night, back aboard the Liberty, the crew gathered in the mess hall. The mood was dark. These were professionals who had trained for years to represent humanity among the stars, and they had been treated like children bringing a broken toy to show and tell. "They think we're jokes," Maya said, staring into her coffee. "Did you see how they looked at our ship? Like it belonged in a museum." "Maybe it does," someone muttered. "Enough," Hayes said firmly. He stood up, looking at each of his crew members. "Yes, the Liberty is old. Yes, our technology looks primitive compared to theirs. But every single system on this ship works, and works well. We got here safely. Our life support is perfect. Our engines are reliable. Our weapons are accurate. That's more than a lot of those fancy ships can say." "The captain's right," Jake added. "I've seen the maintenance records for some of those quantum fold engines. They break down constantly. They're powerful but fragile. Our fusion drives just keep going." "Still doesn't feel good being laughed at," Maya said softly. "No, it doesn't," Hayes agreed. "But we're not here to impress them with flash. We're here to show them what humanity can do, and we'll do that through our actions, not our appearance. Understood?" The crew nodded, some more enthusiastically than others. As Hayes returned to his quarters that night, he paused to look out a viewport at the Liberty's hull. She was old and scarred and simple, but she was also strong and reliable and true. In time, the galaxy would learn that those qualities mattered more than shiny hulls and exotic weapons. He just hoped that time would come soon. 6 days after leaving Station Prime, the Liberty cruised through deep space on a routine patrol route. Captain Daniel Hayes had volunteered for the assignment, eager to put distance between his crew and the mockery they had endured. The route was considered safe, a well-traveled trade corridor that connected the station to the outer colonies. Lieutenant Maya Brooks sat at her console, monitoring the navigation sensors. The bridge was quiet except for the steady hum of the fusion engines and the occasional beep of instrumentation. After the chaos of Station Prime, the silence was welcome. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal," Maya said suddenly. "It's coming from a vessel about 2 million kilometers ahead. The signature identifies it as the Horizon's Dream, a Vaxil merchant ship." Hayes leaned forward in his command chair. "Can you get details on their situation?" "They're reporting an attack by multiple vessels. Pirates from the sound of it." Maya's fingers danced across her controls. "I'm reading 3 ships matching known pirate configurations. All Grulian-class raiders." Commander Jake Morrison looked up from the engineering station. "Captain, those raiders are armed with pulse cannons and quantum disruptors. They're faster than us and have better shields," noted. Hayes said. "But that merchant ship needs help. Set an intercept course, best possible speed, and bring our weapons online." "Sir, are you sure?" Lieutenant Chris Palmer asked from the weapons station. He was young, only 31, and this would be his first real combat. "We're not exactly a warship," Hayes smiled slightly. "No, we're not. But we're what they've got right now." "Do your job, Lieutenant. Trust your training and trust your ship." The Liberty accelerated toward the distress signal, her fusion drives burning bright. On the view screen, 3 sleek pirate vessels came into view, circling the larger merchant ship like predators around wounded prey. The merchant vessel's shields flickered weakly, clearly on the verge of collapse. "They're demanding the merchant ship surrender their cargo," Maya reported. "The captain is refusing." "Brave but foolish," Jake muttered. "Those pirates will tear them apart." "Open a channel to the pirate vessels," Hayes ordered. The view screen split to show a reptilian face with scarred green scales and yellow eyes. Pirate Captain Zaxthor grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Well, what do we have here? A human ship? I've heard about you. You're the ones with the ancient rust bucket, yes? This is Captain Daniel Hayes of the Liberty. Break off your attack immediately and leave this system." Zaxthor's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "Or what, human? You'll throw scrap metal at us? Your little museum piece doesn't scare anyone." He leaned closer to his screen. "In fact, maybe after we finish with this merchant, we'll take your ship too. I bet human artifacts would fetch a nice price." "Last warning," Hayes said calmly. "Break off now." "I don't think so." Zaxthor's screen went dark. "They're powering weapons," Chris reported, his voice tight with tension. "All 3 ships are targeting us now." "Maya, evasive pattern Delta 7, Hayes ordered. "Jake, divert all available power to forward shields." "Chris, target the lead ship's engine assembly. Fire when ready." "Sir, evasive pattern Delta 7 requires precision maneuvering. It's designed for small fighter craft, not a ship our size," Maya protested. "I know the Liberty's capabilities." "Lieutenant, execute." Maya's hands moved across her controls, and the Liberty suddenly rolled hard to port. The old ship moved with a grace that should have been impossible for her size and design. She twisted through space like a dancer, evading the incoming pulse cannon fire by margins so thin they made Jake hold his breath. "How is she doing that?" Chris whispered, amazed. 800 years of refinement, Jake said quietly. "Every system on this ship has been perfected over generations. Those thrusters respond faster than any modern system because we've had centuries to learn exactly how to tune them." On the pirate ships, confusion reigned. The ancient human vessel they had dismissed as a joke was moving like nothing they had ever seen. Worse, it was moving toward them, not away. "Firing railgun," Chris announced. The Liberty's main weapon looked primitive compared to energy weapons. It was essentially a magnetic accelerator that fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The technology was ancient, dating back to humanity's early space age. But what the pirates didn't understand was that humanity had spent centuries perfecting that simple concept. The tungsten rod left the Liberty's railgun at a velocity that made it effectively invisible. It crossed the distance to the lead pirate ship in less than a second. The pirates' shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, barely registered the solid projectile before it punched through like paper. The rod hit the pirate ship's engine assembly with devastating precision. Metal tore, fuel lines ruptured, and explosions rippled through the raider's stern. The ship went dark, tumbling through space. "Direct hit," Chris reported, his voice filled with wonder. Their shields didn't even slow it down. "Second ship is firing quantum disruptors," Maya called out. "Brace for impact." The exotic energy weapon struck the Liberty's shields. The old-style defensive fields flickered and groaned but held. Jake had designed them specifically to handle energy weapons by dispersing the force across a wider area. It was less efficient than modern point defense shields, but it was far more reliable. "Return fire missiles this time," Hayes ordered. "Target their weapon systems." The Liberty's missile tubes opened, launching a spread of 6 projectiles. These weren't guided by complex quantum computers or exotic sensors. They used simple but effective targeting systems that had been refined over centuries of use. The pirates' electronic countermeasures, designed to confuse sophisticated missiles, were completely useless against the Liberty's straightforward approach. 4 missiles found their targets. The second pirate ship lost its main weapons array in a series of controlled explosions. The third pirate ship, seeing what had happened to its companions, attempted to flee. "Maya, can we catch them?" Hayes asked. "No, sir, they're faster in a straight run, but I don't think they'll be coming back." The bridge was silent for a moment, everyone processing what had just happened. They had faced 3 modern pirate vessels and disabled 2 while driving off the third, all in less than 5 minutes. "Liberty, this is the Horizon's dream," a voice crackled over the communication system. "We cannot believe what we just witnessed. How did you defeat them so easily?" Hayes smiled. "We got lucky, Horizon's dream. How's your ship holding up?" "Minor damage, nothing we cannot repair. But please, Captain, you must tell us. Your vessel appears so old, yet it moves like a fighter and strikes like a battleship. How is this possible? Practice, Hayes said simply. A lot of practice. Do you need escort to the nearest station? No, we will manage. But the Vaxil people will remember what you did today. We owe you a great debt. As the merchant ship limped away, Jake came to stand beside Hayes. Captain, you realize what's going to happen now, right? That merchant will talk. Hell, I'd bet the pirates are already spreading stories. Everyone's going to want to know how the primitive human ship did what it just did. Let them wonder, Hayes replied. Maybe it'll make them think twice before dismissing us next time. Chris was reviewing the combat data, his eyes wide. Sir, our targeting accuracy was 98%. Our shield efficiency was actually better than rated, and those maneuvers Maya pulled off shouldn't have been possible. They were possible because the Liberty is exactly what she appears to be, Hayes said. She's old, but she's also been improved and refined and perfected by generations of the best engineers humanity could produce. Every system on this ship is simple, yes, but simple doesn't mean weak. It means reliable. It means proven. It means effective. Maya pulled up a communication log. Captain, we're already getting queries from other ships in the area. Word is spreading fast about what happened here. Ignore them for now, Hayes said. Set course back to Station Prime. Something tells me our reception is going to be different this time. As the Liberty turned toward the station, her old fusion drives burning steady and true, none of the crew could know just how different that reception would be. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's approach to technology, dismissed and mocked just days ago, had value that couldn't be measured in exotic materials or complex systems. Sometimes the old ways were old for a reason. They worked. The Liberty arrived back at Station Prime 2 weeks after the pirate incident. The reception was nothing like their first arrival. This time, dozens of ships had positioned themselves along the approach route, their crews watching as the old human vessel made her way to the station. The communication channels buzzed with speculation and questions. High Coordinator Thren himself was waiting at the docking bay, along with a crowd of officials and officers from various species. Captain Daniel Hayes noticed the change immediately. Well, this is different, he said quietly to Commander Jake Morrison. They've seen the combat footage, Jake replied. Every ship in this sector has probably watched it by now. I've been getting requests for technical specifications from 24 different engineering departments. What have you told them? Nothing. But they're persistent. The Liberty settled into her docking bay, this time in the military section rather than the cargo area. As the airlock opened, Hayes was surprised to see High Coordinator Thren standing at the front of the welcoming party, his avian features arranged in what might have been respect. Captain Hayes, welcome back to Station Prime. Your actions against the pirates have not gone unnoticed. The Galactic Coalition thanks you for protecting one of our merchant vessels. Hayes nodded. We did what anyone would do, Coordinator. A ship was in trouble and we helped. Yes, but the manner of your help has raised many questions. Thren gestured to a tall figure standing beside him. This is Admiral Kethron of the Vorton Defense Fleet. He has requested a meeting with you regarding the Liberty's capabilities. Admiral Kethron was amphibious, his skin a dark blue-green that glistened under the station lights. His large eyes studied Hayes with an intensity that made it clear this was not a social call. Captain Hayes, I have reviewed the footage of your encounter with the pirates over 100 times. I have consulted with my best tactical analysts, and I must know how your vessel achieved what it did. We got lucky, Admiral, Hayes said diplomatically. Luck does not explain 98% targeting accuracy with projectile weapons. Luck does not explain maneuvers that should be impossible for a ship of your size and mass. Luck does not explain shields that held against quantum disruptors when they should have failed. The Admiral's voice was hard. I need to know your ship's true specifications. The Liberty's specifications are available in the documentation we submitted when we arrived, Hayes replied carefully. Those specifications are clearly incomplete or falsified. No ship with those basic systems could perform as yours did. The tension in the corridor was thick. Other aliens had gathered, listening to every word. Hayes could see the calculation in the Admiral's eyes. The Vorton were one of the Coalition's military powers, and they did not like mysteries. Admiral, I assure you that all the information we provided was accurate. The Liberty is exactly what she appears to be. An old ship with simple systems. Then explain how those simple systems defeated 3 modern raiders. Before Hayes could respond, a new voice cut through the crowd. Perhaps I can help with that explanation. A human woman pushed through the gathering, her identification badge marking her as Dr. Lisa Grant, xenoarchaeologist. She was in her early 40s with gray streaking through her dark hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. Hayes had not been told that another human was on the station. Dr. Grant, Hayes said carefully, I wasn't aware we had another representative here. I arrived yesterday, sent by Earth's diplomatic corps. I specialize in the history of human technology, Captain. And I think I know something about your ship that might explain what everyone has been witnessing. She looked at Admiral Kethron. Admiral, what if I told you that the Liberty is much older than you think? We already know the ship is outdated, the Admiral said dismissively. I don't mean outdated. I mean old. Genuinely, historically old. Lisa pulled out a handheld device and projected an image into the air. It showed technical drawings of a ship that looked remarkably similar to the Liberty, but the date stamp on the documents made several aliens gasp. That date cannot be correct, Thren said, his feathers ruffling in agitation. That would make the design over 800 years old. 827 years to be exact, Lisa confirmed. She looked at Hayes. Captain, I think it's time to tell them the truth. The Liberty's basic frame and structure were built in the year 2197 of the human calendar. She's one of the oldest continuously serving vessels in human history. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Aliens spoke over each other in a dozen languages, their translators struggling to keep up. Admiral Kethron stared at the Liberty through the transparent wall of the docking bay, as if seeing her for the first time. That's impossible, a Nexian tech specialist called out. His cybernetic enhancements flickered as he processed the information. No ship lasts that long. Components fail. Hulls degrade. Systems become obsolete. That's true for ships you throw away, Jake Morrison said, stepping forward. But the Liberty has never been thrown away. She's been maintained, upgraded, and improved continuously for over 8 centuries. Every generation of human engineers has added something to her. Better electronics, refined engine tuning, improved weapons accuracy, enhanced structural integrity. She's the same ship she was 800 years ago, but also completely different. You're telling me that every system on that vessel has been perfected over centuries? Admiral Kethron asked slowly. Exactly, Lisa said. While other species chase the newest technology and discard what came before, humans have a different philosophy. We take what works and make it work better. The Liberty's fusion drives are ancient technology, yes. But they're also the most refined fusion drives in existence because we've had 800 years to perfect them. The hull plating is old-style metal alloy, Jake added, but it's been treated and reinforced using techniques developed over generations. It's stronger now than when it was built. The railguns are simple projectile weapons, but their targeting systems have been refined through centuries of use. The missiles use basic guidance, but that guidance is absolutely reliable because we've eliminated every possible point of failure over hundreds of years. A Kelxian engineer spoke up from the crowd. But why? Why keep one ship for so long? Why not build new vessels with modern technology? Hayes decided to answer that one. Because the Liberty means something to us. She's not just a ship. She's a symbol. Every human who has ever served on her has been part of her story. Every engineer who has improved her systems has added to her legend. She's fought in wars, explored unknown space, rescued stranded ships, and represented humanity across the stars. How could we abandon that? You value legacy over advancement, Admiral Kethron said quietly. You choose to perfect rather than replace. We do both, Lisa corrected. We build new ships too, but we also honor what came before, and sometimes that old technology, refined and perfected over time, is better than whatever new invention someone just came up with. Thren was studying the projected images, his head tilted in thought. This changes much. Your ship is not primitive. It's refined. There's a difference. A big difference, Jake agreed. Every species we've met so far uses quantum fold engines. They're powerful and fast, but they break down constantly. They're so complex that repairs take weeks. Our fusion drives just keep running. They're not as fast, but they're absolutely reliable. That's worth something. It's worth a great deal, Admiral Kethron admitted. My flagship has been in dock for repairs 3 times this year alone. Quantum displacement field generators are magnificent when they work, but they're temperamental. A young alien officer raised his hand nervously. So the Liberty is strong because she's old? That doesn't make sense. She's strong because she's been made strong over time, Hayes explained. Think of it like a blade. You can forge a new blade from exotic materials and give it all sorts of special properties, or you can take a simple steel blade and sharpen it every day for 800 years. Which do you think would be better? The young officer thought about it and slowly nodded. There's something else, Lisa said. The Liberty isn't the only ship like this. Humanity has several vessels that have been in continuous service for centuries. Each one has its own history, its own improvements, its own specialties. While other species have abandoned and forgotten their old ships, we've kept ours and learned from them. This is a very different approach to technology, Thren observed. Most species in the Coalition believe that new is always better. But you humans suggest that refined can be superior to novel. Both have value, Hayes said. But yes, we think refinement is underestimated. The Liberty isn't special because of what she's made of. She's special because of all the people who have cared for her and improved her over the centuries. That accumulated knowledge and experience is worth more than any exotic material. Admiral Kethron was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something surprising. He bowed his head slightly to Hayes. Captain, I apologize for my earlier assumptions, and I apologize for how you were treated when you first arrived here. We saw an old ship and assumed weakness. We were wrong. Apology accepted, Admiral. I would like to request a formal tour of the Liberty. My engineers need to see this philosophy in action. 3 days after the revelation about the Liberty's age, Station Prime faced a crisis that would test everything. The galaxy had just learned. Captain Daniel Hayes was in the middle of giving Admiral Kethron and his engineering team a tour of the Liberty's engine room when the station-wide alert sounded. The deep pulsing tone made everyone freeze. All vessels prepare for emergency evacuation, came High Coordinator Thren's voice over the communication system. We have detected a spatial anomaly forming near the station. Classification Omega level threat. Jake Morrison pulled up the sensor data on a nearby console. His face went pale. Captain, that's a quantum rift. It's tearing a hole in normal space. Any ship that gets too close will be pulled in. How long until it reaches the station? Admiral Kethron demanded. At current expansion rate, 45 minutes, Jake replied. The Admiral's communicator chirped with urgent messages. He listened for a moment, then cursed in his own language. The modern ships are experiencing system failures near the anomaly. Their quantum sensors are being overloaded by the rift's energy output. They can't navigate safely. Hayes moved quickly to the bridge, the others following. On the view screen, he could see ships attempting to leave the station, but many were drifting off course or moving erratically. Their sophisticated navigation systems, designed to work with quantum fold space, were being disrupted by the very thing they were built to detect. The anomaly is interfering with their advanced sensors, Dr. Lisa Grant said. She had joined them on the bridge when the alert sounded. It's like using a microscope to look at the sun. Too much input, too much data. Their systems can't filter it out. Lieutenant Maya Brooks was already at her navigation console pulling up readings. Captain, our sensors are showing the anomaly just fine. We're reading it as a strong gravitational source with unusual energy patterns, but nothing our systems can't handle. Because our sensors are simpler, Jake said, understanding dawning on his face. We don't use quantum detection. We just measure basic things like gravity, radiation, and electromagnetic fields. The anomaly isn't overloading us because we're not trying to process quantum-level data. Another alert sounded. This is High Coordinator Thren. 3 ships are stranded near the anomaly. Their crews have abandoned ship, but the vessels are caught in the rift's gravitational field. If they're pulled in completely, the resulting energy release could damage the station. We need someone to retrieve those ships before they cross the event horizon. Admiral Kethron looked at Hayes. My ships can't get close enough. The anomaly scrambles their navigation. They'd crash into each other or into the stranded vessels. Hayes understood what the Admiral was asking without it being said. Jake, what's your assessment? Can the Liberty operate near that thing? Jake studied the sensor readings. Our fusion drives don't rely on quantum field manipulation, so they won't be affected. Our navigation uses basic gravitational and stellar mapping, which will work fine. And our structural integrity is based on physical materials, not exotic energy fields. Captain, I think we're the only ship here that can safely approach the anomaly. Then we go, Hayes said simply. He turned to Admiral Kethron. Admiral, I need you and your people off my ship. This is going to be dangerous. Understood. Kethron hesitated. Captain, you know this could destroy your vessel. The Liberty has survived 800 years. She could end today. She could. But those stranded ships have crews that evacuated in escape pods. If their vessels go into the rift, those pods won't survive the energy blast. The Liberty was built to protect people. That's what she'll do. Hayes met the Admiral's eyes. That's what she's always done. The Vorten officer nodded with respect and led his team off the bridge. Within minutes, the Liberty was undocking, her old hull moving away from the relative safety of Station Prime toward the growing anomaly. On the view screen, the quantum rift looked like a wound in space itself. It twisted and writhed, pulling at reality around it. The three stranded ships were drifting slowly toward its center, their automated systems dead, their crews already evacuated to safety. Distance to first ship 200,000 kilometers, Maya reported. Her hands were steady on the controls, but Hayes could see the tension in her shoulders. The anomaly's gravitational field is getting stronger. Chief Medical Officer Karen Wells, report to the bridge, Hayes ordered. When she arrived moments later, he explained the situation. Karen, we're going into a dangerous area. I need you up here in case anyone gets hurt. Karen was 36, calm under pressure, and had served on the Liberty for 8 years. She took her position at a secondary console without comment. Approaching first stranded vessel, Maya announced. It's a Nexian science ship, mass approximately 5,000 tons. Jake, can we tow it? Hayes asked. Not all three at once, but one at a time, yes. We'll need to use the magnetic grapples. The Liberty moved closer to the stranded science ship. Unlike the modern vessels that were struggling to navigate near the anomaly, the old human ship responded smoothly to every command. Her simple but reliable systems saw the rift as just another navigation hazard, not an overwhelming flood of impossible data. Grapples attached, Jake reported. Beginning tow. The Liberty's fusion drives burned brighter as she pulled the Nexian ship away from the anomaly. It was slow work, fighting against the gravitational pull, but the old engines never faltered. When the science ship was safely clear, Maya maneuvered toward the second vessel. This one was closer to the rift's center. The gravitational distortion was visible now, space itself bending and twisting. Modern ships would have had their quantum field generators torn apart by the stress. The Liberty, built with simple physical materials refined over centuries, held together. Captain, the station is hailing us, Chris Palmer said from the weapons console. He had stayed at his post even though weapons would be useless here. Thren's voice came through, tight with worry. Liberty, our sensors show you're approaching the anomaly's critical threshold. Beyond that point, we cannot guarantee your safety. Understood, Station Prime, Hayes replied. But there are still 2 ships to recover. We're not leaving them. On the bridge, Lisa Grant watched the crew work with quiet amazement. These were people who understood their ship completely. Every control, every system, every capability. There were no complicated menus to navigate, no AI assistants to consult, just experienced hands on proven controls. Second ship secured, Jake announced. The Liberty hauled it clear, her engines protesting but holding. The third ship was the worst. It had drifted closest to the rift's center, and the gravitational forces around it were intense. Space was warping visibly, creating dangerous eddies and currents of twisted reality. Maya, can you get us in there? Hayes asked quietly. The young lieutenant studied her sensors. The older, simpler systems showed the gravitational fields clearly, mapping them like currents in an ocean. Yes, sir. It'll be rough, but I can do it. The Liberty moved into the distorted space around the anomaly. The hull groaned as gravitational forces pulled at it from different directions. Modern ships would have torn apart, their exotic materials unable to handle such basic, brutal physical stress. But the Liberty's hull was simple metal, reinforced and treated over centuries. It bent but didn't break. Grapples attached to third vessel, Jake said. But Captain, we're at the edge of the safe zone. If we pull this ship out, we'll be fighting maximum gravitational force. The strain on our engines and hull will be extreme. Can we handle it? Jake looked at his engineering displays, at readings from systems that had been refined over 800 years of service. Yes, sir. The Liberty can handle it. Then do it. The fusion drives roared to full power. The Liberty pulled against the anomaly with everything she had. For a long moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, meter by meter, both ships began to move away from the rift. The hull groaned louder. Stress warnings appeared on multiple consoles. But the Liberty's structure held and her engines kept burning. Simple technology, perfected over centuries, doing exactly what it was designed to do. When both ships finally cleared the danger zone, A cheer went up on the bridge. They had done it. All 3 vessels recovered. No lives lost, Captain. Look, Lisa said, pointing at the view screen. Dozens of ships from the station had formed up in 2 lines, creating a corridor for the Liberty to pass through. As the old human vessel moved between them, each ship activated its lights in salute. It was a traditional honor reserved for heroes. Station Prime to Liberty, Thren's voice came through, and for the first time, there was warmth in it. On behalf of the Galactic Coalition, we thank you. Your actions today saved not only 3 vessels, but possibly the entire station. You have shown us something important. What's that, Coordinator? Hayes asked. That the newest technology is not always the best technology. That simple systems, refined over time, can be more reliable than complex ones. That there is value in the old ways. Thren paused. We have much to learn from humanity, Captain Hayes. Much to learn. As the Liberty docked at Station Prime for the second time, the crew knew that everything had changed. The galaxy had seen what 800 years of refinement and dedication could achieve, and they would never laugh at the old ship again. 3 months had passed since the Liberty saved Station Prime from the spatial anomaly. The old ship now occupied a place of honor in the main docking bay, right where the most prestigious diplomatic vessels berthed. But more importantly, everything she represented had begun to change how the galaxy thought about technology. Captain Daniel Hayes stood in the station's main conference hall, watching as groups of alien engineers filed in for another session. Over the past months, Commander Jake Morrison had been running courses on maintenance philosophy, iterative improvement, and the value of simple, reliable systems. The classes were always full. Hard to believe, isn't it? Dr. Lisa Grant said, joining him at the back of the hall. 3 months ago, they were laughing at us. Now they're taking notes on everything we do. It's not about us, Hayes replied. It's about the ideas. They're starting to understand that there's more than one path to excellence. On the stage, Jake was explaining the Liberty's power distribution system to a mixed audience of engineers from a dozen species. The key is redundancy and simplicity, he was saying. We don't have one complex power routing system that does everything. We have multiple simple systems that back each other up. If one fails, the others compensate. It's not as efficient on paper, but it's far more reliable in practice. A Kelxian engineer raised her wing. But doesn't that make repairs more complicated? You have more systems to maintain. Actually, no, Jake replied. Because each system is simple, anyone can understand and fix it. We don't need specialized technicians for different components. Every engineer on the Liberty can repair every system. That's the benefit of keeping things straightforward. Hayes smiled as he watched the aliens scribbling notes and asking questions. The mockery had been replaced by genuine curiosity and respect. Captain Hayes, a voice called out. Admiral Kethron approached, his amphibious features arranged in what Hayes had learned to recognize as satisfaction. Do you have a moment? Counselor Pren wishes to speak with you. Counselor Pren was one of the most influential members of the Galactic Coalition Council. She was Illuvian, a telepathic species known for their wisdom and careful decision-making. Hayes had met her briefly after the anomaly incident, but hadn't spoken with her in depth. They found her in a private meeting room overlooking the docking bays. Through the transparent wall, the Liberty was visible, her scarred hull somehow looking noble rather than worn. Captain Hayes, thank you for joining me, Pren said. Her voice had a musical quality that her species was known for. I wanted to discuss something important with you. May Admiral Kethron and Dr. Grant join us? Of course, Counselor. When everyone was seated, Pren gestured toward the Liberty. Your ship has taught the galaxy a valuable lesson over these past months. But I believe the lesson goes deeper than just technology. Tell me, Captain, why did humanity keep that vessel for over 800 years? Hayes thought carefully about his answer. Because she matters to us. Every person who has served on her has been part of her story. Every improvement made her better. Throwing her away would have been like throwing away all that history, all that accumulated knowledge. She's not just a ship. She's a legacy. A legacy, Pren repeated thoughtfully. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Most species in the Coalition see their ships as tools. When a better tool comes along, they discard the old one without thought. But you humans see them as partners, as living history. We do, Lisa agreed. It's part of our nature. We form attachments to things that serve us well. We honor them, maintain them, improve them. It's not just ships. Our oldest buildings are still standing on Earth, maintained for thousands of years. Our oldest books are preserved and protected. We value continuity, and that continuity brings practical benefits, Jake added. When you keep something for centuries, you learn everything about it. You discover tricks and techniques that no manual can teach. That knowledge gets passed down from one generation to the next. The Liberty isn't just old. She's wise, Admiral Kethron spoke up. Counselor, if I may. Since the Liberty's example became known, I have ordered a review of my fleet's maintenance practices. We have been too quick to replace ships when they develop problems rather than truly understanding and fixing those problems. I have already seen improvements in reliability by adopting some of humanity's approaches. That's wonderful to hear, Admiral, Pren said. And it's exactly why I wanted this meeting. The Council has decided to establish a new program called Legacy Technology Research. We want to examine which old technologies might actually be superior to modern alternatives when properly refined. Dr. Grant, we would like you to head this program. Lisa's eyes widened. Counselor, I'm honored, but I'm just one person. You'll have a full team of researchers from multiple species, and the Liberty will serve as the primary case study. Pren turned to Hayes. Captain, we would like to officially designate your ship as a galactic heritage vessel. She will be protected and honored by the Coalition, and we hope that other species will be inspired to preserve and learn from their own historical vessels. Hayes felt a surge of pride. The crew and I would be honored, Counselor. But I have to ask, what changed? 3 months ago, the Liberty was seen as a joke. Now you're making her a symbol for the entire galaxy. What changed is that you proved something important, Pren replied. You proved that progress is not always linear, that moving forward sometimes means looking back, that the wisdom of the past combined with the knowledge of the present creates something stronger than either alone. There's something else, Admiral Kethron said. Captain, you should know that your actions during the anomaly crisis saved more than just 3 ships. Analysis shows that if those vessels had been pulled into the rift, the resulting explosion would have destroyed 1/3 of the station. Thousands of lives were at risk. You didn't just rescue some equipment. You saved people. We did what the Liberty was built to do, Hayes said simply. Protect those who need protecting. And that's another lesson, Pren observed. Your ship is old, but her purpose is timeless. Protection, service, reliability. These values don't become outdated. She stood, moving to the window to look at the Liberty. I have learned that humanity has other vessels like this one. Ships that have served for centuries, each with their own specialties and histories. We do, Hayes confirmed. The Endeavor has been exploring uncharted space for 600 years. The Guardian has been protecting Earth's borders for 700. The Pathfinder has been conducting rescue operations for 500. Each one has been maintained and improved over generations. Remarkable, Pren said softly. While we have been chasing novelty, you have been perfecting legacy. Both approaches have merit, but we have been blind to the value of yours. Over the next hour, they discussed the details of the Legacy Technology Program and the Liberty's new status. When the meeting finally ended, Hayes returned to his ship to share the news with his crew. He found them in the mess hall, along with several alien engineers who had become regular visitors. Lieutenant Maya Brooks was explaining navigation techniques to a young Zenthari pilot. Lieutenant Chris Palmer was discussing weapons accuracy with a Vortan tactical officer. Even Chief Medical Officer Karen Wells had an audience, sharing human medical practices that emphasized proven treatments over experimental ones. Attention, everyone, Hayes called out. The room quieted. I have news from the Council. The Liberty has been designated a galactic heritage vessel. We've been given a place of permanent honor at Station Prime. The crew erupted in cheers. Even the alien visitors clapped or made their species-equivalent gestures of celebration. But that's not all, Hayes continued. The Council is establishing a program to study legacy technology across all species. They're finally understanding what we've known all along. That old doesn't mean obsolete. That simple doesn't mean weak. That refinement over time creates excellence. Jake raised his glass. To the Liberty. May she serve for another 800 years. To the Liberty, everyone echoed. As the celebration continued, Hayes stepped out onto the observation deck. Through the transparent floor, he could see the Liberty's hull. Scarred, patched, and repaired countless times, but also strong, reliable, and trusted. She had started her journey 800 years ago as just another ship. Now she was a symbol for an entire galaxy. Ambassador Vrel, who had mocked the Liberty so thoroughly on that first day, appeared beside Hayes. The Zenthari's crystalline exoskeleton reflected the station lights. Captain, I owe you an apology, A real one, not the diplomatic kind. You've already apologized, Ambassador. Not adequately. I judged your ship, and by extension your species based on appearance. I assumed that because something looked old it must be worthless. I was wrong, and my error revealed a flaw in how my people think. Vrel gestured at the Liberty. We Xanthari pride ourselves on innovation, always seeking the new, the different, the advanced. But in our rush forward we've forgotten to look back. We've lost technologies and techniques that might have been valuable if we had taken the time to perfect them. It's not too late to start, Hayes said. No, it's not. Vrel's mandibles clicked in what Hayes now recognized as a smile.